Hello everyone, today we'll be seeing how fast Quagsire can beat Pokemon Crystal in a solo run challenge. Let's get straight on to the video. This is our first Pokemon Crystal video for the month of December, for daily December, and today we're running Quagsire. I kinda have a funny history with this Pokemon. I sorta treat it as a meme on my channel, especially in the Discord server. We have a bunch of Quagsire, Clodsire, Wooper emotes. It's pretty funny. And I figured, you know what? Heart Gold, I played this thing, and it was actually very bad, but I want to see if it'll do any better in Pokemon Crystal. We have 95 HP, 85 attack and 85 defense, 65 special attack and special defense, and 35 speed. We're also in the medium fast level up group, so we're not going to be leveling up too quickly, unfortunately. But one thing that is a little upsetting is that since all water type moves are special in this game, all of our good water moves are going to be using our lower offensive stat. But on the bright side, ground is physical, so at least we'll be using our higher stat for that. But we're going to have access to more water moves than ground moves. Via level up, our level up set is actually pretty small. We start off with Tail Whip and Water Gun, which aren't really compatible with each other, and then at level 11 we'll get Slam, which is going to be a decent move for the early game. And then we get Amnesia, Earthquake, Rain Dance, Haze, and Mist. But if we also take a look at the TM department, we get some other great moves as well. We get Dynamic Punch in case we want to miss all of our moves, and we also get Headbutt, Curse, Rollout. You see Curse is ice there. That's kind of an error when I made the image, so yeah, just ignore that. But then we also get Rain Dance, Iron Tail, Earthquake, Return, Dig, and Mud Slap. And then we also get Ice Punch and Sludge Bomb and Surf. So we're going to have access to some great coverage. I definitely see us picking up Ice Punch to deal with all the grass types. Plus, I'll just have Dig into Earthquake and just probably hold on to Surf the entire game. Anyways, throughout the early game, I'm just going to defeat the trainers leading into Violet City. And then as soon as we get to Violet City, we gotta ask ourselves the age-old question. Should we go take out Sprout Tower, or should we go straight to the gym? You see, I am 4 times weak to Vine Whip, so I feel like I'm better off taking on the gym. So why don't we go see how Faulkner goes? He leads off with Pidgey, and I'm level 8 for this fight, and fortunately the Pidgey went for Tackle instead of Mud Slap, and the Pidgeotto is going for Gust. And due to our great bulk, we are not taking much damage from his Pokemon at all. I don't have the berry equipped anymore because I ended up using the berry on one of Faulkner's gym trainers, but that's fine though, we were nowhere close to dying. Plus, with access to Water Gun on my level up set, I can actually take out all of the trainers in the Union Cave that have rock types, and at level 11 I learned the move Slam. Slam is normally not that good of a move, but since we don't have access to Headbutt yet, and Slam actually does more damage than Headbutt, it'll do for now, especially since our attack is our higher stat, plus Water Gun is still a weak move. In fact, I can actually see us using Slam to defeat Bugsy with, so why don't we go see how Bugsy goes real quick. Bugsy leads off with his Metapod. I go ahead and use 2 Water Guns, and I do the same thing to Kakuna, except it's a one-shot with a crit. Then on the Scyther, I actually go for 1 Tail Whip first, and the Tail Whip makes Slam do half of its damage, and then a second Slam is able to knock it out. So yeah, Slam for the win. You love to see it. And the rival fights in this game are pretty much going to be a joke. I always replace the grass starter in my runs to be consistent, and the rival's always going to have the fire team, and that does give water types a huge advantage. Not like they need more advantages, because water is generally a pretty good typing. And then inside the Ilex Forest, I have to go ahead and catch myself a Paris because I couldn't find a cut user up until now, so this is just what I have to deal with. There are plenty of cut users I could catch throughout the run. I could catch a Sentret on the first couple of routes, but only during the daytime. I could find a Bellsprout on Route 30, or better yet, in the Union Cave during the daytime I could find a Sandshrew. But then in the forest, I can always find either Paris or Oddish. But we don't have to worry about a cut user though, at least we got the Paris. But while I'm in the forest though, I do go ahead and get the TM for Headbutt. I do not replace Slam with it just yet, because Slam is still going to be great to have just for the raw damage. and the flinch chance with Headbutt is really not going to be meaningful that much because of how slow we are. And unlike Pokemon Heart Gold, I can't just give myself a plus speed nature because natures don't exist yet. Then before I take on Whitney, I fight the trainers in the underground, and then I fight all the trainers leading up to the Pseudo-Widow tree as well. These trainers do provide decent experience, plus a lot of them are spinners and you have to pass through this route several times, so you're bound to encounter most of them. I don't play with that patch that Scott's Thoughts uses where he essentially gives the spinners social anxiety and they always look away from you. I don't do that because it doesn't really feel like this true spirit of the game, so I choose to not play with it. Plus, while I'm in the national park, I can actually go ahead and get myself the TM for Dig. This will not only be great stab coverage that uses my physical stat, it will also be very helpful for Morty. But before we talk about Morty, we need to talk about Whitney. Whitney leads off with her metronome spamming Clefairy. I go ahead and use Dig to two-shot it, and it does mimic Dig, and fortunately she decides not to use it. Then on the Miltank, I can actually just go ahead and just spam Dig, but I do have the Quick Claw equipped as well, so depending on whether the Quick Claw activates while I'm underground, it can potentially give the rollout counter more chances to build up, and that's exactly what happens. I get my very first reset because when I'm underground, the Quick Claw activates and rollout never has a chance to miss. So yeah, the Quick Claw caused my death essentially. Then on the next attempt, I technically get more lucky with Quick Claw not activating, and I go ahead and defeat the Miltank and get my third badge. Honestly, if I were to play this again, don't equip the Quick Claw until after this fight, but on the bright side I have Amnesia now. This move will definitely be useful. Not for now though, a lot of the next coming gyms are physical attacking gyms. And then, as soon as I get to Ecruteak City, normally I like to fight the Kimono Girls to get access to Surf, but the Kimono Girls are generally pretty tough trainers to take on, so I'm actually going to do the training towards Mahogany Town and up to the Lake of Rage. I have to do a lot of this training anyway because I want to outspeed Morty's Ghastly and his first Haunter. Because the problem is, his Ghastly and his first Haunter have Curse, and if I get hit with Curse, I'm just straight up dead, because I'm going to have to be using Dig on his whole team. So I need to make sure I get the levels in. I potentially could have just gone towards the Lighthouse instead, because that training is mandatory anyway, but the trainers leading to the Lake of Rage generally give better experience. Then, after I'm finished with my training in the Lake of Rage, I am level 26, and at level 26, I feel pretty confident taking out the Kimono Girls. And once I do, I can get my final reward, which is the HM for Surf. Unfortunately, Quagsire couldn't learn Waterfall until Gen 4, I believe, but I know in Gen 2 it can't learn it. And it doesn't really matter if it could or not, because Waterfall is a special move in this game. Honestly, before the physical special split, Waterfall was just straight up a bad move. I mean, it had a flinch chance, but I'm not sure the flinch chance existed in Gen 2. I think it was a later gen that introduced it. Maybe Gen 4? I don't remember. Anyway, let's go take on Morty. Psych, we're not taking on Morty yet. I'm also doing the training towards the Lighthouse. Yeah, I need a lot of training. Our speed stat is just awful. Okay, for real though, let's go take on Morty at level 32. Morty leads off with his Ghastly. It has 41 speed, so I outspeed it. And then his first Haunter, I actually speed tie it, which honestly is not too bad. I wanted to outspeed it, but I already fought a lot of the trainers, and I didn't want to fight more of them. But then on the Gengar, I actually get a lucky Quick Claw activation, and I never even got hit a single time. So yeah, that was really good. And now that I've technically finished the Lighthouse section, I can technically just go straight to Chuck. Normally, Chuck is kind of worrying. Normally, the answer is just spam Headbutt and hope for Dynamic Punch misses or getting flinches from Headbutt, but we really can't rely on Headbutt flinches because of how slow we are, but maybe if we're a high enough level, we could. Poliwrath is not that fast, but let's go check the fight out. Chuck leads off with his Primeape. It does outspeed me because Primeape is a decently fast Pokemon, but its moves aren't that good. And then on the Poliwrath, it has 51 speed, so we're actually speed tied. But instead of going for Headbutt, I keep going for Dig. I think the reason I was going for Dig is to try and get some stab bonuses on it. But then take a look at this. He actually uses Mind Reader on me. And fun fact, not only it makes you skip accuracy checks when you use Mind Reader, it even hits the opponent during semi-invulnerable statuses like Dig or Fly. I got hit with Dynamic Punch underground. But fortunately, I don't hit myself in confusion and I beat Chuck on the very first try. So now, after we beat Chuck, I can get the HM for Fly, and I normally like to go take on the Rocket Grunts, but I could theoretically do Jasmine right away. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. She leads off with Magnemite. It is a one-shot with Earthquake, which I got at level 35. I one-shot the second Magnemite, and then the Steelix is going to be a almost one-shot with Surf. It does end up using Sunny Day, but that's fine though. It still makes it a two-shot anyway. I must have just gotten a really bad roll or something. But yeah, the reason I fought Jasmine first is because I knew she was going to be very easy. Price is theoretically the harder gym leader than Jasmine. But before we take on Price though, there is the whole Team Rocket underground section in Mahogany Town. Gotta defeat the Electrode, that fun stuff. No one cares about that. Let's fight Price. Price leads off with his first Seal. I go ahead and one-shot it with Earthquake, and then next up is his Dewgong. Did I seriously say first Seal? I meant his only Seal, but oh well, it's a two-shot with Earthquake. And then on the Piloswine, I misclick and go for Earthquake instead of Surf, and then I decide to use a Headbutt into a Surf. Like, okay, I definitely played that real bad. He easily could have froze me with Blizzard. He's done that before, but fortunately it doesn't happen. And now that Price is defeated, we now get that dreaded phone call. We gotta go take on a bunch of Rocket Grunts because apparently I'm the only one that can. But before I do that though, I do get the rare candy in PP up in Violet City, as well as the rare candy on Route 34 south of Goldenrod City. There's also a hidden nugget down there too if I wanted to pick it up, sell it, and buy some vitamins. But I actually don't buy vitamins until I'm done with the first part of the radio tower as well as the underground section. And with that stuff done, I can go ahead and buy some vitamins. And today's Vitamin of the Day is 5 Carbos and 3 Protein. It's pretty simple. We need attack and we need as much speed as possible. And you may have noticed after I used my proteins, I still have room for one more protein. You can see the little 1 next to my attack stat. The thing is, there's actually a protein inside of the ice path, I think it's called. So I can actually just go ahead and use that and save myself some money. But there's not just a protein inside the ice path. I can actually go ahead and get myself the Nevermelt Ice too. This will boost the power of Ice Punch by 10%. And with our special attack being our weaker stat, I can see this definitely being necessary. But will it be necessary on Claire, or will I just spam Earthquake? Let's find out. She leads off with her first of 3 Dragonairs. I have the Nevermelt Ice equipped. I'm just going to spam Ice Punch. I one-shot the first Dragonair, the second Dragonair, and the third Dragonair. I'm sure if I used Earthquake they would have been one-shots too, but they're weak to Ice Punch, so I may as well just use that. And then on the Kingdra, Earthquake is going to be a clean 2-shot. And then as soon as I beat Claire, she makes me go inside the Dragon's Den, solve a quiz, and then I get the badge. But before I leave, I need to make sure to go back in and get myself a Dratini for Waterfall. Normally when Steve, Ike the Killer, and I do those Pokemon Crystal backboards on stream, I generally forget to get the Dratini, and it's kind of annoying whenever I do. But whenever I do runs offline, it doesn't really seem to do that. But then as soon as I beat Claire and get the badge, before I go straight to the league, I'm going to go ahead and get some more rare candies throughout the Johto region. I'm going to need plenty of candies. In fact, I'm going to get the rare candy inside Mount Mortar, as well as the rare candy in front of Tojo Falls. There is also a rare candy inside the Whirl Islands, but I never picked up Flash. I really don't like getting that candy without Flash, because I still haven't gotten good at going through there in the dark. And besides, it is an out-of-the-way candy. Then I can make my way up to Victory Road, completely destroy the rival, and make it to the Pokemon League. I heal up at the center, buy some full restores, and now we need to take on the final 5 trainers of Johto. Let's do this shit. The first member of the Elite Four is Will, the user of Psychic types. He leads off with Xatu. It does outspeed me and hit me with Confuse Ray, but I actually hit it with Ice Punch and it actually freezes, so I can actually use this opportunity to use Amnesia for the very first time. So now all of his instances of Psychic are going to do very little damage. And because of that, plus having access to a great physical move in Earthquake, I can just defeat the rest of his Pokemon quite easily. Next up is the Poison type Elite Four member, Koga. Koga leads off with Ariados. I go ahead and defeat it right away using Earthquake, and I do a similar thing to the Venomoth as well. But on the Fortress, it is very defensive and has lots of resistances, but that's fine though, I can just use 2 Surfs. And then on the Crobat, I have to hit it with 2 Ice Punches, and I actually freeze his Crobat, but then Koga just immediately uses a full restore, so it's as if it never even happened. And then his last Pokemon is Muck, and it is a clean 1 hit with Earthquake. Next up is the Fighting type Elite Four member, Bruno. His first Pokemon is Hitmontop. I go ahead and use 1 Surf on it, and whenever it went underground, I just used 1 Amnesia. I know I can use Earthquake on it to hit it while it's underground, but I decided, you know what, I'm just going to waste my turns, but now that I think about it, I should have just used Earthquake. There is no point in using Amnesia for this fight. The only Pokemon here that have special moves are his freaking Hitmonchan with its punches, so it was honestly just a waste of time. But the fight's still pretty easy. I win the fight in green health. Next up is the Dark type Elite Four member, Karen. She leads off with her Umbreon. I did use an HP up, so that way I am not at full HP. Plus, I didn't use a potion either. Normally, when you're not at full HP, the Umbreon actually has a far less likely chance to go for Sand Attack. She normally has a 90% chance of using Sand Attack if you're at full HP. But sadly, my death was not because of the Umbreon. It was because of the Karen's Vileplume hitting me with Petal Dance. So yeah, immediate reset there. Then on the second attempt, I actually survived Petal Dance at 31 HP remaining. Then I can defeat the Murkrow, outspeed the Gengar thanks to a Quick Claw, and then use Earthquake on the Houndoom to take it out as well. So yeah, that was my first reset, honestly since Whitney. Before I take on Lance though, I do teach Return in the place of Earthquake, plus I have the TM for Earthquake which I got in Victory Road, so I can always just teach it again if I need to. And then before Lance, I use a bunch of rare candies to get to level 60. Now, let's go take on the champion of Johto. He leads off with Gyarados. I go ahead and just set up 3 Amnesias because his team does have special attackers on it. And then I can just spam Return and hope for the best. I can 2-shot the Gyarados, and then he sends out his Thunder Dragonite, which is honestly pretty funny because I'm a ground type. And then he sends out his Blizzard Dragonite. I defeat that pretty easily. And then on his level 50 Dragonite, it is a 1-shot, and they're all thanks to Ice Punch. Although I never used an elixir before this fight, so by the time I defeated the Dragonites, I only had 1 use of Ice Punch left, so that was actually pretty dang close, but hey, I can just use Return on the rest of his team and actually win. So yeah, we are done with the Johto section, but we're not done yet though. We still have to do the entire Kanto section, and the Kanto gym leaders in this game are honestly kind of a joke. I normally just fade out to blue at this part. So if no one else provides any problems, I will just fade out and I'll meet you back at blue. And just like I thought, none of the gym leaders provided any problems. Not even Erica or Misty did. I did save Erica and Misty for last though, because I was a little worried about them. But when I was in Kanto, I did go ahead and get the TM for Curse, obviously. But we need to go take on Blue now. By the time I enter his gym, I am level 66, so I've gained 6 levels throughout the entire Kanto section. But will it be enough for Blue? I think it will. Blue leads off with his Pidgeot. I go ahead and use a couple of Amnesias to deal with his special attackers later in the fight, and then I can go ahead and just two-shot the Pidgeot with Return, and then I can get to level 67, and then next up is the Exeggutor. I'm going to have to two-shot it. It does go for Sunny Day, but that's fine. I'll just have to avoid using Surf for a bit. But that's fine though, I wasn't going to use Surf on the Alakazam anyway. Neither the Gyarados. Return is going to work just fine on them. And it's pretty funny how the Gyarados just has Twister as a move, which is pretty funny. And then on the Arcanine, fortunately for me, the Sunlight faded just in time. Extreme Speed does hardly any damage, and then I can defeat it and the Rhydon with Surf. So yeah, Blue went very easy. But however, we still have one major threat in this run, and that is obviously the man himself, Red. Before I fight him, I use a couple of candies to get to level 69. Nice. And then I teach Curse and equip the leftovers. So let's go take on Red. He leads off with Pikachu. I go ahead and set up 3 Amnesias on it, so that way I'm at max special defense. Although I am at -2 attack now thanks to a charm, so I am going to have to use some curses on the Pikachu. But here's the thing. What's the Pikachu going to do? It's just going to spam Quick Attack and Iron Tail. It doesn't really like using Charm other than turn 1. I have seen it use Charm before, but it's actually pretty rare. I only need +4 attack though. Then on the Venusaur, it just goes for Sunny Day instead of Solar Beam or Giga Drain. But surprisingly, even at +4, it does survive a return. Then on the Espeon, it goes for Reflect, and funnily enough, I just get a crit anyway. But on the Snorlax, it is not going to be taking much damage at all, but that's fine. I can just use some curses in the meantime to stall out the Reflect counter. And then, once I get to the maximum +6, I just go ahead and just spam Return until I defeat it. And then last up is his Blastoise. It hits me with Surf doing basically nothing, and then I one-shot it. Oh wait, nope, there's one more, Charizard. Its Flamethrower does like 20 damage, I guess. But I can knock it out with Return, level up to level 70, and clock in. With a real time of 1 hour, 14 minutes, and 59 seconds, with 2 resets, 0 blackouts at level 70, with a game time of 4 hours and 51 minutes. So yeah, if you guys have seen my Pokemon Heart Gold run with Quagsire, Pokemon Heart Gold was so freaking difficult for Quagsire. But honestly, Quagsire did pretty dang well in this game. My only resets in the run were on Whitney because of Quick Claw Dig shenanigans, as well as my second reset being on Karen, but then again, Karen gives lots of Pokemon their first reset. But I think this Pokemon did pretty good, and if we take a look at the leaderboard, it ranked pretty decently good as well. I mean, it's nowhere near the top slots obviously, because it had to move second against most things, but it still played pretty dang nicely. But anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more, and be sure to follow me on my socials or support the channel through YouTube memberships. YouTube members get access to the patch files for all the backboard Pokemon we do on stream. And there is still plenty of Daily December left to go. Tomorrow, we're going to be doing Pokemon Leaf Green with Minun. We did Plusle earlier in the month, so it's time to see Minun. Spoiler alert, this run was one of the worst. I actually recorded the Minun run last. That is how bad it was. But yeah, I will see you tomorrow for that video. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in Daily December as it continues.